Well, hello and welcome to the Weight Free Wellness Podcast. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Angela Doyle, and she has created a line of really neat, healthy products for the skin. And she'll tell us a little bit more of what she's created. But what I love about her brand, which is Free Generation Naturals, is that there's a great story behind it. She has a great cause that she started creating these clean products for your body. And so welcome, Angela. Hello.
Thank you, Tara. Yes. Hi. So I'm with Free Generation Naturals, and basically the company started only back in August of 2016, but I guess my history with natural deodorants go much farther back. And I started actually making my own natural deodorants back when my now 12-year-old daughter was in utero. So it was, I guess, at that time that I really started thinking about what was going on my body and in my body, and started researching that a little bit, and just realizing that the FDA, the EPA, these federal organizations that we think are there to protect us, and the things that we buy we just assume safe for us, and realizing that that isn't actually the case. And going even further back, when I was a teenager, I actually had cancer at that time, and it was a localized mesothelioma, which is basically on the pleura of the lung, and they knew very little about it, except that it, like mesotheliomas, have to do with asbestos inhalation. So that was their best guess. And when I had been researching it, especially when I was pregnant, I, read a lot about it and realized, like, asbestos even now is not something that the FDA has completely banned, and they have around it, but it's one of those grandfathered in, chemicals that they really didn't have much authority. So those kind of things were what really, made me realize that it's something that I have to take responsibility for myself, to do my own research and to educate. And, like when you're responsible and completely responsible for another being, suddenly it just becomes that much more urgent. So that is kind of what led me to it at that time. Like further research during the early years of when she was in my belly. I also, just realized also that pregnant mothers, young mothers, breastfeeding mothers and children are really the most vulnerable when it comes to toxicity, due to these different chemicals. So that was kind of, my story as to how I came about really doing a lot of research and trying to find these healthy alternatives for my family.
Well, those are great motivators for sure. And you're obviously well and survived everything. And what, at the time that you were experiencing cancer too, was that, how much was there out there? So like in my wellness journey too, beginning with digestive health, there wasn't so much out there. Like today you can go online and you can type in your symptoms and you can find some really good information. And what was the question that I was trying to lead to? Because I think you have such really strong motivators. Did it occur to you, you were a teenager when you were going through cancer and treatment? Did you go through the standard treatments?
I did not have chemotherapy, radiation. It was just surgically removed, and I was very lucky that that's what it was. But being that age, I think I did kind of have that mentality of that I'm invincible. So, I think it wasn't until later on, really, like when I had my own children, that I felt, really vulnerable at that time. And just, it was that sense of urgency and just realizing that I was responsible for the health of another person. That was when I really, I think, kicked it in. But it's kind of funny, knowing now that my daughter's a teenager, and that was also another motivation for the deodorants themselves, is to be able to provide a healthy option for people of all ages. And teenagers and preteens, they generally don't think about their mortality or their overall health. So I think it's especially important, to give parents the option for their own kids, like to offer something that is effective and safe. And so that was definitely in my mind as well.
Well, you sent me some samples, and the deodorant was especially what I tested out, and it works really well. The stick deodorant works like I stay so dry, and which is what we want out of it. Well, it says deodorant, but I think we've all gotten used to the antiperspirant, what we grew up with. And I've used natural deodorants for quite some time now. So I can definitely testify that it works really well. What were some ingredients that so going back 12 or so years ago, there wasn't as much information or even products. So that triggered you, I'm sure, to start creating. So what were some of the ingredients that you were looking to use, and what were some of the ingredients you were looking to avoid?
Sure. Yeah. One of the main ingredients that you find in a lot of natural deodorants is baking soda, which is obviously, it's gentle enough for us to ingest. So that is kind of the known active ingredient in most natural deodorants. And I had experimented a lot at that time using that, and it's what I've been basically using for 13 years. And going back to what you were saying, like not having access, to at our fingertips to find things, a lot of it research at the library, that kind of thing, but mostly the experimenting at home. And I think it's wonderful that, now that we can just look things up, and there are a lot of recipes out there. I have several variations. There's the baking soda version, which works really great for me. And, but then one of, I guess, the motivations for me to experiment more and try different formulations was a very close friend of mine who started using my deodorants and really loved it. But after a while, she developed some irritation. And, I was able to research online and see that a very small percentage of people are sensitive to baking soda. And so it kind of became my mission, this was about 2 years ago, to make an effective deodorant for her that did not have baking soda, which I call my sensitive skin version. And the active ingredient in that is actually magnesium, which you may know is an essential mineral that we're really deficient in. I think like close to 90% of Americans are very deficient in magnesium. And so that is a somewhat novel ingredient in deodorants, but we found it to be very effective among a testing group. I had a pretty large group of testers for me through this, and that has been effective. And then I have a third version, which is the probiotic deodorant cream, which is in a jar. And that one I consider for people with the most sensitive skin. And it does have some of the magnesium, no baking soda, and the probiotics in it, which is, quite an interesting and novel inclusion. I don't know how nerdy you want me to get, but I really enjoy, all the research during my experimenting and formulating of the deodorants. But I found that probiotics, I really feel, are going to be the next generation of deodorants and so much more. I mean, I think a lot of people know that the gut biome is very important for just general health, but I think a lot of research is now being done on even the skin biome. So what I have found in research, that the actual lactobacillus acidophilus and the ones that you find in the probiotics, those bacteria, the good bacteria, inhibit the growth of the corn bacteria and Staphylococcus epidermis, which is the the bacteria that generally makes up what's in your armpits. So those two are the ones that cause the smell, and the probiotic actually inhibits the growth of that stinky bacteria. So that's some of the research I found, which is, a lot of NIH research, and it was very interesting to read, but then it was really exciting to see that anecdotally among my testers, it was indeed making a difference. So
it's going beyond even covering up the deodorant.
Yeah.
It's like it's fighting all those critters, some people call them, that are going after the cause of the bad smells.
Yes, exactly. So deodorants themselves differ from antiperspirants, and antiperspirants, I guess a lot of what people read and what they try to avoid is the aluminum in the antiperspirants, which is the ingredient that actually plugs up the ducts of the skin. And actually prevent sweating, which I guess in my personal opinion, I feel like there's a reason for sweating. So we are releasing toxins, and I guess when I was pregnant and when I was breastfeeding, that was really on my mind because, my baby's face was right there. And it's, just the proximity really got me thinking as well. And so there are some links, and nothing has been conclusive regarding the aluminum, saying that it may have some links to breast cancer, or I've seen some research on Alzheimer's, but nothing has been concluded. And to me, I guess I just don't want to risk that. Knowing how slowly research goes, and just the realization that the FDA can only do so much. And just all the federal organizations, it just really makes me feel like I don't want to be a part of this big experiment. And, I prefer to avoid those things. And I guess on top of that, it's like there are a lot of other ingredients in these commercial, just the deodorants that we're used to, that are incredibly harmful and are known to be carcinogenic, or, may be endocrine disruptors. So it's more those that I think people are not that aware of, that I feel like it's important to educate people. What I had learned through all of this process is, like I'm saying, like the limited regulations, but just the different ingredients themselves. So like I know them, but I feel like, what do I do with that knowledge? And like to act on it would be to give people options, to educate people on, what I've learned, and encourage people to do their own research, because just like, I don't want to just take someone's word for it. I don't want them to just take my word for it, but, really examine what's in what you are using in your bathroom, what's in my deodorants. And there are a lot of resources out there for, comparing or seeing the risk. And I can share some of those.
Let's get into that. What are the ingredients that you were absolutely avoiding during those times? And even now, seeing that it's just a good health practice.
Yeah. Well, if you were to look in some of the commercial deodorants, they often have parabens in them, and they'll have really scientific name, blah, blah, paraben, and they come in a lot of different, are known to be really harmful. So they are basically preservatives, but I believe that they say that it can cause their links to, neural damage, or, it's also like endocrine disruptor. So that's definitely one to avoid. And the interesting thing that I've learned too is that the United States is much more lax about it. I guess it's more that they're not able to say that this is definitively bad. So I think they're just more cautious about that, versus the European Union. They are much more regulated. in a way that, would make me feel more comfortable. So just comparing between those, for example, the FDA has only banned 9 chemicals, and the European Union, I think it was like over 1,000 have been banned or restricted. So like that is a big difference.
Is this just for skincare, nine chemicals for skincare, or just overall?
This is skincare. Okay. And so, so the FDA has very little regulation over the cosmetic industry, which is what deodorants fall under, and everything that I make. But yeah, so they have little regulation. They do work with an independent agency that's part of that does do further testing, and it's called the Cosmetic Ingredient Review, CIR, and they that's the sole purpose of this organization. And they have, I think what I recall is about like 30 chemicals have been discovered to be harmful, but all they can do is recommend it. They don't restrict or ban. They don't have that authority to. So, even that 30 compared to 1,000, there's a big discrepancy. Mm-hmm. So, I do find myself that I often go to like the European Commission site where they have a lot more information. But so parabens is one of those that falls within the U.S. is, I think it might be, it might be recommended not to use, but the European Union, there are countries, I think maybe Denmark is one of them, that actually bans the use of it or restricts the use of it. So parabens as a preservative is not used, and my deodorants don't contain any preservatives because they don't have water in them, which is is where the bacteria would grow. And one of the other ingredients that I think people should watch out for are phthalates, and it's spelled weird. It's PHTHALATES, and it's pronounced phthalates. But those, it's often used as an emulsifier. It helps keep things feeling soft on your skin, and it helps absorb, or it helps the ingredients get absorbed into your skin. And it also, I think it's often used in perfumes. So when you have like something that says just generic fragrance in the ingredients or perfume in it, then that's usually, it has phthalates in it as well, because it helps the fragrance stay on your skin. And that is also known to be really harmful to animals. And I believe, and I think that's one that is actually restricted by the entire, European Union in general. But the phthalates, are also found in the perfumes. I think one other thing that I find concerning is that when you look at the ingredient list of deodorants and any kind of body care product, it's not entirely transparent. So they can say fragrance, and whatever it is made up of is not listed there. And I think that has to do more with like keeping trade secrets for the perfume industry and that kind of thing. So people don't know phthalates are in the fragrance. So artificial fragrances are also something that you have to be aware of. And in addition to, I think the fragrance, from what I had read, is something that is the number one cause of skin irritation. So you don't know what that is, like which of the ingredients is in it, but just knowing that, it may cause some irritation, that's a good thing to know. When I just did a search last night, I looked up one of the big commercial deodorants, and also found that it has petroleum in it, petroleum jelly. So that is also something that if you look on some of the sites that I'll talk about later, it's one of those higher risk ones, and mostly having to do with the contamination. And they also have talc in them, which I think talc is in a lot of different personal care products, but talc is also what I think is it has contamination often with asbestos. And so personally for me, that's like a big one to avoid, just knowing, the history of the asbestos research and that I've been personally affected myself.
And that was related to even reproductive cancers. I mean, women for years have used talc in their panties to freshen up, and it's
Sure.
when I realized that, I was like, wow.
No.
You think you're doing something okay, and it seems, especially when it's something white, you just think that it's pure, right?
Sure.
I think, well, it kind of is like this program in our mind is like, oh, it's clean, it's white. But I'm curious if you won't mind to go back to the petroleum, because the petroleum is another thing that we're so used to using, like in Vaseline is a petroleum product. We use petroleum products in so many where we don't even realize it. What is the contamination that is the concern?
Petroleum is not something that I know very well. That's what I had read about just yesterday when I was doing the research and looking up all the ingredients. So I do know that, like, on the ranking of, it's called the Environmental Working Group. It's the EDWG. They are the one that I referred to first, and they have a really extensive database of ingredients and brands, and that you can just kind of look, and they have a rating of like how toxic it is or the risk level of it. So this one was at about 4 out of like their 9, 9 being the worst for you. And so it was up there, and what it had listed was contamination. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, what it's contaminated with, because it's not something I've ever considered in my own. But I don't use petroleum, only because a very good substitute to me is coconut oil. So coconut oil is, one of the ingredients that I primarily use in my deodorants.
Mm-hmm. So you're referring back to the aluminum as well. Do you use non-aluminum baking soda, I would assume?
Yes. Yeah. There's, I use, like the organic, I use organic whenever possible. So, that's definitely something that I want to avoid. But you may have found that the deodorants, you do sweat a little more, but it's not, something that smells. And
right.
That's the point of it.
Well, I find that my body regulates better. I remember coming off of the antiperspirants, and it's almost like my body was like, whew, finally we can let loose and, do our job a little bit more. But then after a while, and then I think also when your body is balanced and healthy, everybody's going to, of course, depending on the season, depending on your system, how your system is running, I find even at different points in my cycle, I'll sweat more, and that's natural. Our bodies need to, like you said, it's our way of detoxing. But I have actually found great success with these natural products. And yours, I know you don't advertise it as an antiperspirant, but I've stayed the driest with the stick deodorant.
Yeah. And, there are things that I put in that are supposed to help with the wetness, and I use arrowroot powder for that. So, that could be the reason. But it's interesting that you do say that it seemed to have leveled off, and there are a lot of people that really feel that there's a period of detox, and it's been so long since I've used, the commercial deodorant. So I'm not speaking from my own experience, but there's a detox period where, you can expect to, you might be a little smelly, or it's just, like a little funky. Yeah. And it does level out. Some of my most recent research has been on, just the bacteria again, and the probiotics, and how, I said that I really do think it's the future of, a lot of our health. And some of the latest research has shown that, it's pretty stable. The axillary microbiome in the armpit, the 2 main bacteria are pretty constant, but they have found that when you use aluminum-based ones, that dramatically changes the microbiome. Like there's less of one and then more of the other. And then it takes a while for after, if you were to detox to get back to that normal level. So that does support the detox period so that your microbiome can even out to its natural state.
Isn't that interesting that we've spent so many years creating antibacterial products, and now we're finding from the gut health, taking antibiotics, which not only kill if you have a bacterial infection, but kill the good bacteria. We're finding that how critical that is, not just for digestion, but even like for brain function, how connected our guts and our brains are.
Gut-brain connection.
And then our armpits, our skin is involved too. We've spent years now doing the antibacterial soaps and stuff. And now we're finding out that you need to have these bacteria on your skin too. And it's fascinating. It's like everywhere around us, we have this ecosystem of bacteria that we help it and it helps us. And you need to keep, life is all about balance, isn't it? Down to the right bacteria that you have in you and on you. And I was actually really pleasantly surprised to see that you had a probiotic deodorant product. And I know for my husband, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he actually recently got into, there's a product line called Mother Dirt, which is a body wash.
Talking about. Yeah.
Body wash and those types of products, and really helped his, because he's worked out for years. He thought that he was just getting the body odor because he just has worked out for years or had old shirts or something. And then he ran into that. And this kind of philosophy, actually reconstituting or repopulating, right, the skin with a healthy bacteria. So I'm curious to hear where you're going with things, because I saw on your website, and I think we even messaged back and forth that you have aspirations to expand your product line too.
Yes. Yeah. And I think probiotics is my current interest. And that company you're talking about, it was something I, was also looking into and trying out. And it's very interesting because they are basically saying, don't shower and just spray, right? And how that good bacteria balance, it works in the same way as, the probiotic addition to my cream deodorant, is that it inhibits the growth. It will populate and overtake the bacteria that is causing the odor. So a lot of what I'm looking into now is how that might benefit just skin, like creams, that kind of thing. Acne, as my daughter gets into her teen years, I'm curious like how probiotic on the skin will affect the bacteria that causes the acne. So that's kind of one of my bigger projects. I think what I'm currently focused on right now is more of a general lotion and heel balm, something for, when you feel like your heels are just not looking their best, for sandals, that kind of thing. So some of the ingredients that I'm familiar with are in the deodorants that I think may have a good effect on the skin there, as well as if people feel like their feet stink.
That's a great idea. I've been looking for more natural, even kind of a product that helps to slough off the skin from the feet. It's a lotion. For my skin, it seems to really help to have that alpha hydroxy, or that kind of action where it helps to continually slough off the skin rather than a scrub. The scrubs just kind of irritate my skin. Yes. So if that's a part of your formula, I'll definitely be a first customer or early customer, or even a tester.
Yeah. And I'm always looking for testers, especially local in the Minneapolis area. So I think if there are viewers that are interested, then I'd love for, a range of people to test. And interestingly, the deodorants, I had a testing group that I tried to vary, between sex or even race. I wanted to have a good representation. And I was trying to find out if there were any connections or ways that I could predict like which of my formulas would work for a certain individual. And because I found that all three of them, the baking soda, the non-baking soda, and the probiotic, have their the fan base, and they say this is the one that works, and I don't have to work out, or I can work out and I don't have to reapply it after 24 hours. And but I couldn't predict it. So, I'd even gone as far as to say, well, maybe their blood type, or maybe the race makes a difference, and that kind of thing. So, as diverse as I can get a testing group, the better.
So do people kind of tend to know what they need? I suppose if they're already sensitive skinned, they know, to go for that one, or I suppose you can steer them in towards the probiotic too, if they know that they're having chronic underarm odor issues.
Yeah. And some people know that I can't use baking soda ones just because they've tried everything on the shelves. And this was my friend who, she's like, I've tried everything on the Whole Foods shelf and none of it works. And she specifically, was looking on the back for baking soda. So there are some people, I'd say very few. So I actually do offer a little sampler pack that has a small 0.5 ounce sticks of the actual, non-baking soda and the baking soda, and then a little foil pack of the probiotic deodorant cream. So people are able to test all three and find which one works best before they commit to a bigger one.
That's a terrific idea. And I actually saved mine that you sent to me. I'm going to do a product giveaway. I collect some products from guests, and I thought that would be a nice little fun prize.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So lotion, a foot balm is next on the list. Yeah, I would love to. I'll definitely be a part of your sampling crowd. Tried many things over the years. Yeah. I'm especially interested to hear what you think about the heel balm, because I have found, just in my own testing, is that it does seem to, do a natural exfoliation without any kind of rubbing. It's, I think the ingredients that I know and are putting in them seem to have some effect. So that'll be interesting to hear from you. Well, that's wonderful, because my wishes will have come true.
Yeah.
That has definitely been high on my list, especially this time of year. We're both from Minnesota. It's cold. It's not even officially winter yet. It's like a week away. But we're, last night, like 20 below or something like that. It was the temperature, how it feels on your skin. It's crazy sometimes. So, yeah, and I think our internet is even freezing, it seems, at times.
Oh. Yeah. Is it smoother now?
Yeah, we're good now. Yeah. For a moment we were disconnected, but I think the internet, the air has just frozen or something.
Yeah. This cold has been really good. This is, my first season testing out the products in the winter since I had started in the summer. So, I think one interesting thing is knowing that I don't use emulsifiers, I don't use preservatives in them, that like the deodorant sticks and especially the probiotic cream, it will be affected by the temperature. So, like in the instructions when I send them out is that people do know that it will harden when it's cold. It'll get softer if it's warm. So just keeping it in a room temperature, like the cream especially, is important. But the sticks themselves, they might feel a little bit firmer, but they're still fine. But I think I'm all about having fewer products. I had read that for females, the average number of body care products that they use is 12. And for males, that's about half that. But that's a lot of potential harmful ingredients, in each of them. So, like the fewer, the better is kind of how I go. And that means like the ingredient list, simple seems to be a safe way to go for me.
For sure. And it makes it easier for traveling or just even in your cabinets, how many products you have. But on the note about the pot of the probiotic cream, I noticed if I scraped it with my nail, I could get like little shavings and then apply it.
Oh yeah.
And so that worked for me, because then when it touches the skin, it's warm enough and it spreads just fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And in the same way, using the sticks, if they feel a little cold, just holding it against the skin for just a few seconds warms it up. So that's good advice. But I found, just over the past couple days, I had also sent you some of the lip balms that have been very popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I also, sometimes I get the chapped up here if I haven't been wearing gloves, and just like rubbing the lip balm across that was really, really helpful. And that's basically what my son does when he goes to school now, is it's almost like this multi-purpose thing. But that's, I think also helpful for me to know as I'm developing new products, like just becoming really familiar with what is working on different parts of the body and how I can apply that to new products.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm sure you have a very interesting kitchen with all of your with all of your experimenting and stuff. And
yes. My husband has been very patient, and I received a cute email a few months ago if they can get a tour of my facilities, the production facilities. I'm like, my kitchen right now. But I did send her a little picture of me in my uniform, which is like my goggles, and I have a face mask and my plastic gloves and my apron.
That's great. That's great. Well, I look forward to hearing about your future collections. And I think our internet is freezing up a little bit more, so we might have to conclude it at this point, unfortunately. But before we cut out, how do people find you and your products?
Sure. Right now, I can be found on my website, which is freegenerationnaturals.com. I'm also found in some of the local markets, farmers markets, winter markets, and wellness festivals. In 2017, I'm going to be working with some of the co-ops around. So, some of that will be found locally within Minnesota area. And I'm also pushing out on Amazon. So that's, I think, I'd really like to be, in front of people when they're trying to buy deodorant. That's the right time. So I think Amazon and Prime members will have that flexibility of buying through there. If the connection is good enough right now, can you hear me?
Now I can. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I did want to share just, if people were interested in how they can research themselves, like I had mentioned the Environmental Working Group site. That is one of my favorites. It's called Skin Deep. And that's one that I in 2017, I'm going to submit for becoming a EWG verified company. That is a good one. And there's an app called Think Dirty that can be downloaded, and that's basically, you can scan things when you're at the store, and just like the EWG, they have ratings, the toxicity ratings or the risk ratings, and you can learn more about what is in each product very easily. There's a site called the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, or is it, I wrote down here, Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. Yeah, I know they are working, or they require the European Union compliance to be verified through them. So it's a little more rigorous and strict. And then some, I guess, a couple other certifications that I do plan to get, which I think are really good organizations. I think looking for, independent, not-for-profit organizations, that's important. And Being Bunny, which is a company that they check to make sure that you're cruelty free. So that's something that is important to me as well. So the Leaping Bunny certification is one I'm getting. And yeah, those are the ones that I did want to share.
Wonderful. Those are great resources. I'm glad that you made a point of getting those in, because I like putting tools like that. And obviously you're qualified in those areas too. And I love sharing people, I don't care knowing that I like knowing actually that the deodorant I'm using was cooked up in your kitchen. I think it's awesome. And I love products with purpose like that too. It is a great motivator. And someone who came from your background, surviving cancer, being very concerned about what you put into your body for pregnancy and breastfeeding, that especially that is a tremendous motivation to really put clean things on and in your body. So I really love having guests like you on to share your stories and your products.
Yeah. I think initially at this, at this startup phase, it feels very important to me to know exactly what is going in the process. Everything is made in small batches, and I want that control right now until, it feels like there will be a point where obviously it's going to be too much for me to manage, but also that logistically, I think the process is so smooth and control that I feel, to, if needed, to, a larger facility. But right now, it's just very important to me that each of these small batches is done exactly the way I want.
Yeah. Yep. That's how businesses start, just step by step.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I will definitely put those links and your links in the show notes so people can see that here. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.